The Fortis Colosseum has been out for roughly 2 weeks now, and I wanted to put out my opinions on it, but I've been waiting for the update, which has just released today, so now we can actually discuss. Is the Fortis Colosseum good content? Now, what exactly has been added in the Fortis Colosseum? It's basically a wave-based combat like the Inferno or like Jad, and you complete the waves to get to the end, and at the end, you fight the boss and get a quiver, which is a best-in-slot range cape, similar to the Infernal cape in terms of its power. The quiver is basically just an upgrade to the Arva's device, and it's got charges on it. So I'm going to split this video into two parts. I'm going to have the parts that I like about the content, the parts that I don't like. But before we get into that, I just want to give my thoughts and opinions on the actual day of release, because it's been a long time since something like this has come out. It is basically whenever a new piece of content like this gets added, there's like that fun of the day one of everyone figuring it out. And this time I had an absolute blast. Like watching everyone stream it and struggling and actually being difficult content is really cool to see. I think Jagex has been on an absolute roll with adding end game stuff, and some people may not enjoy what has been added in terms of TOA, the Awakened bosses, or this, but me personally, I think it's been great. As opposed to the dark times where we, where we got Nightmare and nothing for years, I'm pleasantly surprised by Jagex's effort to not only make this content, but make it difficult to do. Like, you can't just walk in and do it. I remember the first day of Hard Mode Tob, I wasn't expecting much, but I wasn't expecting people to finish it on their first KC. And the fact that we didn't have this moving into this new wave-based content was really, really good to see. And I hope that they keep moving forward in terms of adding difficult content like this that isn't just spoon-fed to you. It's something that players can work towards. Now, the things that I like about the Colosseum, I'm going to say that I personally do like the actual design of the arena and the color of it. I know a lot of people say it's bland, but to me it looks like a fucking Colosseum. I don't really know what else you expect to be in there. I know there's been some things about like, oh, it should have a crowd and you should have spectators, but I don't know. I don't think that would really add anything for me personally. But if that's something you like, then fair play. For me, I don't think it would do anything for me. It's like there's not fucking a bunch of jowl shits watching me at the Inferno, is there? It's just a pool of lava. I also think that the Manticore, the Minotaur, and the Man-Cheetah all look incredible. I don't know who was the designer for those, but I think they absolutely bang. The designs of those creatures is so fucking cool, especially the Minotaur, man. Like, goddamn, the Minotaur's badass. And the Man-Cheetah is just funny as fuck. He's not even called the Man-Cheetah, he's called like Jet Jaguar or something. Jaguar Man, Jaguar Man. He's got a jack. Yeah, I think they look good. But a lot of my friends have also said that they don't like the design of it. Like, the colors are a bit bland, which, you know, that's fair. But, I kind of like it. I don't really expect a lot of brightness. But that is just those three NPCs that I like. Something as well that is very good about the content, if we're going to compare it to things like the Inferno and even Jad to some extent, is the speed at which you can get in and out of it. I've done a couple of KC now, and it's like, 25 minutes a run, 30 minutes a run. And if you die late wave, it really doesn't take that long to get back to where you were before, which I think for a lot of people was a massive barrier to entry in terms of them even trying the Inferno. It's like, I'm going to have to spend an hour and a half getting to a wave, and then I die and I have to get back there again. With this, it's not like that. It's like 15 minutes, you're back where you were, man. That just makes it flow really well. Like, I find myself, when I was going for the first KC, just wiping and running back in and back in and back in and back in. Whereas when I was doing the Inferno, it was like, I'm doing 2 runs a day until I get it, and I am not doing any fucking more. Because I think like everyone's first cape is, I don't know, around like 2 hours, I feel like, for the first Inferno cape. I think mine was around the 2-hour mark. It's been a long time. But the speed of the content is really good. I also really like that pretty much any combat style is viable. Like, you can go in with melee, you can go in with mage, you can go in with range, or you can go in with like all three if you want to, and it just works. It's been fun going in there and chopping with the scythe. It's been fun going in there and using the Venator bow. Like, the Venator bow is actually really fucking useful. For me personally, I don't take Blood Barrage. I'm doing Thralls and Death Charge. So the Venator bow, if I get the totem invocation. I'm just going to call them invocations. I don't know what they're actually called. But if I get the healing totem invocation, the venator bow is really nice because I just shoot the monster and it will bounce off them and hit the totem. And like you can use mage and you can use range. Like all three of them are actually good. So from an Iron Man's perspective, if you don't have one of the big three, if you do have one of the big three, you can just go with that one as your like main source of DPS, as opposed to you must have a specific one of these mega rares. It can now just be, you can have any of them, which is fucking cool. I do like that. I also like the way that the manticores actually work. Like say if you've got two manticores, they don't just both fucking immediately drill you. You know, I think the first time I got a double manticore stack, I was like, how the fuck am I meant to solve this? But if you pop out, they don't hit you at the same time. They like one of them will offset themselves with the other, and that is, I don't know how they have how they've programmed that, but that's very fucking cool. And you can like flick sets in between each other perfectly with the manticore. That's badass. I like that. The boss fight itself is actually, in my opinion, probably the most satisfying boss fight in the game. And I think they've done it really well. I know we all saw Wook's fucking cheesing it on day one, butterflying, and I was kind of nervous that they weren't going to fix it, but I'm glad that they have. But the fight feels really good. Like, you just rip with the scythe. You just absolutely fucking torch that thing with the scythe. It's completely zero damage if you do it correctly. Like, even Zuck, you have to take damage from the healers, you know. I'm sure there's a way you could path and avoid a lot of the damage, or pretty much all of it. That's not realistic for most fucking players. That's for like 6 people that could do that or would want to do that. But this, it's literally just footwork, and I'm a huge fan. I like the gauntlet because of the footwork and the pathing. I like, you know, Verzug because of Pog tanking and the footwork involved in that. And this just fits really good in there. Like, it feels so satisfying to pretty much almost flinch it the entire fight. And I also think the boss looks fucking badass, dude. I'm a big fan of the boss look. I think he looks good. And the sounds in there as well. You know, when you do the he's doing the spear attack and he's charging up and it deflects off you. That fucking noise is like like Jango Fett's fucking seismic charge. It just sounds good. But the boss fight, like I say, I'm just gushing over it. Absolutely incredible boss fight. I love the waves, but man, the boss fight, if I could just do that over and over again, I'd be happy as fuck. I also do like the roguelike system that they've added as well, where you have to pick your perk for the next wave. Like, you have a choice on what exactly is going to happen, as opposed to it just being random spawns all the way through, which, you know, isn't bad. The Inferno is like that, but the fact that there is some kind of dynamic beyond that is also really cool to see. Now, there is also another side to this, which I really think they have missed the mark with. When you do a roguelike design, which is what this clearly is inspired from, you have buffs and you have debuffs, and they've only gone with debuffs, which for me is a real miss. Like, you could have had so many things like added on top of it, like, oh, you get, you know, like, let's do it with myopia, for example. Oh, you get 10% accuracy, but you lose 2 tiles. Things like that. I think by adding buffs as well as debuffs it would help alleviate a lot of the complaining and whinging that you see with this content right now. And I'm not going to say it's fucking perfect, but a lot of people feel like, I mean, 3 of the invocations, the Doom Scorpion, the Bees, and Doom, are just completely unviable for the, you know, for a normal fucking person to do this. Like, why would you take that? But what if they had an offset? Like, what if they had something really strong attached to them? Like, what if you had a bonus that came along with the negative, and it's like, now bees aren't so fucking bad. But they haven't done that. They've just gone all straight debuffs, and I do think that is a real miss. I also feel like there should be some, like, you should have re-rolls. You should have at least like 2 re-rolls, man, on the inverse system. When you get off something, you should have at least 2 re-rolls, and there's no way to get any more. Like, that's what you get. That's what I've seen in other roguelikes that I play, and I think it's something that you have to add for a system like this, or you do end up forcing people to feel like they have to leave the run, like we are already seeing. There's a lot of complaining, like people saying they have to leave for fucking everything. In my opinion, it is only those 3 I've said before. You can run with Healing Totem. It's really not that fucking bad, dude. You just shoot it with Blood Barrage or a Venator Bow and you're golden. If you can't figure that one out, I'm sorry, man. I can't help you. But it's just, I mean, even the Bees you could shoot with the Venator Bow, but I'm not going to do them. So the likelihood of you having to leave a raid over that is not as high as everyone's making it out to be. But I do understand the frustration. Something as well that bothers me about, we were talking about the design of stuff looking good earlier. Half of them look good. Half of them don't look good. Like the shaman guy, you know, the little small 1x1 major, he looks good. But why is he water striking me, dude? Like, you couldn't make anything new for that. Just for a piece of endgame content, he's just water striking me. And the Fremennik warband just looks lazy. It doesn't have anything to it. It looks bland. And then you have the mage and the ranger, which I think look fine. But their biggest problems is the hitboxes. The hitboxes on the mage and the ranger is absolutely fucking insane. You got to thicken those up a bit and actually make them not a pencil, because we've had this problem in the past with the updates that have been coming out, like Viability. I remember before they changed this hitbox, that thing was like a fucking Joe PVM worm, dude. You couldn't fucking click that boy. He was just wriggling around. So it's only a small thing and it can be fixed pretty easily, but I do think the hitboxes are a bit iffy on some of them. And I also think the rewards are, I mean, the quiver is good. I think the quiver is absolutely fine as a reward, and like, I would be happy with just getting that. But the fact that you're charging us deaths, you know, there has to be something else on top of it. Now, the rares themselves would appear to be too rare. Based upon the numbers that we have that were given out yesterday, and what was actually promised, there seems to be a great gap between those two things. And there are a lot of people that are upset about the Sunfire Fanatic armor not being, you know, very attainable. Like, they were said in a blog that they were going to be. And I get people's frustrations over that. And to be honest, I agree with them. You can't promise one thing and deliver it a completely different way because you've just lied. You can't bullshit people. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. The armor itself is whatever. I don't particularly care about it. The glaive as well. Glaive isn't that good. Now that you've added this quiver, right? Now that you've added the quiver, why the fuck would anyone take a glaive over a ZCB? I just don't, unless someone can fucking tell me where this, it's not even a glaive, what's it called? Fucking Boomerang of Ralos or something? I apologize. The fucking frisbee, dude. Why would you take a frisbee over the Zarak crossbow? If you've done a KC, for example, I know which one I would take if I had a ZCB. I know which one I would take. I'd take the 110 damage. Like I think most people would. There might be a use case for like throwing at an Olm head, but man, is that a greater value than a ZCB? I don't know. You'd have to probably get into big scales. The smaller the scale, the less and less useful that thing is going to be. I think it needs a bit of a buff before we can move forward with it. It does look cool though. It does look very fucking cool. And the contentious one for me personally, now this is obviously a fucking Ironman's perspective and doesn't apply to everyone. And I'm sure that with part 2 of Valamore, there will be something else that will be added in a way to alleviate this issue. But getting Sunfire Splinters is not fun. I'm okay with things having a high corruption cost. I'm okay with that. Like, but 150k Splinters is a bit absurd because I feel like you have to fucking corrupt it as an iron because it's 1-to-1 shots. One Sunfire Splinter is 1 shot. If it was like 1-to-10, I wouldn't even be kicking off, but it's 1-to-1. That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I don't know who came up with that. And the inconsistency on getting shards. I mean, they've changed it now, but I don't know if it's really changed that much. I know handing in the quiver obviously is a nice boost to Splinters, but it's still going to be like 30 KC to get my fucking shit corrupt, which I know it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but when you say one content is based upon another, I have to compare it like that. And they're both best in slots in the cape position. Could you imagine if the Inferno cape had to be fucking tockled up? Oh, you need 6 million fucking tockled to wear this John? It's just inconsistency. Chargescape is fucking horrible when it's done incorrectly, and it's okay when it's done good. I think the Muspa situation with the Venator bow is fine. I think the way that Zulrah has done it is okay, like, but every time you add a new fucking currency, dude, it's another thing that has to be grinded out. And you can say that you have chosen to limit yourself and they don't cater to Ironman, but it's not about catering, it's about consideration for a vast majority of the player base. Every time you add these new fucking currencies I have to go get, adds more and more time that I have to spend prepping. And that's something that I thought we were moving away from. If they make the Sunfire Splinters a 1 in 10, then sorry, a 1 shot and 1 splinter is 10 charges, I'm not going to complain about it as much. But as it is right now, 1-to-1, I feel like that is not very good. Now I feel like they're getting a lot of stick right now on the old Coliseum blog that just came out. I've just had a look on Reddit. It's downvoted to fuck, and they've already pinned the NPC changes moving forward, so we'll see what they do. But in conclusion, I think the update overall is extremely enjoyable, and you should go fucking try it, even if you're dog shit at the game. Now, learning this content, in my opinion, is more brutal than learning the Inferno, but once you've understood the waves and the solutions, the generalist solutions, it is easier than the Inferno overall. So I think it's more difficult to get into, but because of the speed of the content, it is easier to start getting your first couple KCs and increasing your consistency than the Inferno. And it's also nice because you have to get a fucking Slayer task. Please do not add a Slayer task. Do not add a fucking John Slayer task. I'm begging you. So yeah, go out and give it a go. Let me know what you think about the Colosseum in general. This is just a few thoughts that have been pouring out of my head. Like I say, I wanted to wait until they actually did an update on it, and here we fucking are. And I'm at the Mortmire fungus right now, but you can't see that. And I want to fucking